Yo, it's Aaron 12, your coach of the Roman Polions, and here we have my draft analysis for the fifth season of the ICP, run by my good friend Mario. And I will have to say that this league is pretty much a new thing for me because it's first ever low tier. So I feel like it's going to be fun. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I do well. That's the point. So, starting with my draft analysis. At the beginning of the draft, I was thinking uh, between two months. The first one was Volcanion because in low tier leagues is pretty much one of the few months that actually other low tier months doesn't want to switch into unless you are a water type. And if you are a water type, there you also don't hit Volcanion back unless you are one specific mon. And the other mon that I was deciding between was Hisuian because I was like, Hisuian is a mon that doesn't die in one hit most of the time. So I was like between a powerful mon that doesn't get um, that is hard to switch into, or a bulky mon that is hard to take down. But then I saw lower in the tier list um, amount that caught my attention, which is also our first Terra captain, and that is low kicks. Low kicks as a Terra captain is a very strong one because of the tinted lens ability. It actually has a few switchings. Tickaton is the first one that comes to mind in low tier, but it also gives me a strong priority user. Actually, is the strongest priority user in the game and in the league currently. I know Entei is allowed, but Entei cannot Terra in this league. So actually, I believe low kicks has the strongest priority, either Soccer Punch or First Impression in the league, in the entire league. Even though it mostly runs the dual stabs and that's it. It can also run axe kick if it wants to hit steel types super effectively, or it can run setup with sword dance. But most of the time, you will see it run your box stabs and your dark stabs. And talking about box and dark stabs, um, in this league, how Terras work is you have to choose three Terra types. One of them has to be stab type, and two of them have to be uh, non-stab types. In this case, Low Kicks has Terra Bug, Terra Dark, and also Terra Fire. Terra Bug and Terra Dark are pretty self-explanatory because they boost Low Kicks stabs, and Terra Fire is because um, the ones that low kicks may struggle breaking are all, if not most of them, weak to fire. So, yeah, that's low kicks. The next one that I decided to draft to pair with low kicks is a mon that is very good in low tier because low kicks most of the time doesn't want to run heavy duty boots. Is prone to get hit by hazards, stealth rock, spikes, toxic spikes, sticky web, so on. And I decided, why don't I draft next the best rapid spinner allowed in the league, being Donphan. Donphan gives me a bulky ground type, as well as a rapid spinner and a rocker. It also provides some um, more power in my team because I don't have to most of the time run it defensively. It gets knockoff, which also Loki's gets. It gets priority in Ice Shard, um, but the main reason why I grab it is because it makes low kicks not to run heavy duty boots most of the time. It can and doesn't have to worry about rocks most of the time. So that's why I drafted Dunfer. The next month that I drafted comes back to my first question because in round three, both of the months that I wanted round one were still available. So I saw my team and I was like, I already got my physical wall breaker. Why don't I grab my special wall breaker now? So the next month that I drafted was Volcanion. Volcanion is a surprisingly strong and surprisingly bulky mon. It is very underrated, in my opinion. Even though it doesn't have the best speed, it is extremely bulky in the physical side. In the special side, it is decently bulky with 90 SPDF, but it is strong as hell with um, Steam Eruption, which gets the same percentage of burns as Scald, and Fire Coverage is pretty much one of the best water types in the league that is allowed in the league. Um, Unfortunately, it lost defog um, within the generational shift. It lost defog, so it lost that possibility. But I feel like most of the time I will run it um, offensive. But there are some times where Volcanion defensive capabilities are useful. And also, mainly you see it run special, but it also has a 110 physical attack that can be used effectively. So, yeah, that's Volcanion. The next month that I decided to draft, looking at my team, I was like, who do I pick now? Because I was like, my team is low, first of all. My fastest month is Logix. So I was like, who do I draft next? And I decided to draft Galvantula to provide a speed control in two ways. Those two ways being um, those two ways being Thunderwave and Sticky Wave. Unfortunately, it is also a bug type, same as Logix, but they fill different roles in the team. It also gives me a fast electric type, with, like I said, access to sticky web for speed control. It is also a decently strong one in the low tier. It has almost 100% accurate thunders. I believe it's 91% accurate thunders. Um, and even though it doesn't have the best coverage, even though it's not a Terra Captain, I feel like this mon will fulfill the main role that is needed in the team. Yeah, that's Galvan. My next pick, coming back to again what I was saying about Volcanion at the beginning, was that most water types um, do well Volcanion, but also those water types get wowed by Volcanion, with the exception of one currently in the league. And because I don't want anybody else to have it, why don't I draft it myself? So I decided to pick up as my fifth pick Gastrodon. Gastrodon also provides me with rocks to take away the pressure of Donphan bringing rocks every week. Also, it gives me spikes. It also gives me another bulky water that doesn't share any weaknesses with Volcanion because they fulfill different roles. And because of Gastrodon being the only quote unquote safe check to Volcanion, Volcanion is more easy to slap on teams. It also covers the rock weakness that my team was forming between Galvantula, Volcanion, and Lokix. And yeah, that's Gastro. The next month that I drafted, I noticed I didn't have a steel type, I didn't have a dragon type, and I didn't have a fate. So the next month that I decided was one to fill that spot. At this time, I believe I had uh like 30 something points for at least 4 more months. So I was running a little low on points. But there is there was one month that I did consider round one that was still in the board by this time. That being Hisuian Woodrow. But I didn't want to um, lower my points and then have to rely on lower tier months for the rest of my picks because I felt like I needed um, other months to complete my team. So that's why I decided for my next pick to be Cobraya. Cobraya gives me a steel type that I didn't have on my team. It also gave me a rock resist, which I needed on my team. It gave me another stealth rock user to lower the pressure on Donphan and Gastrodon. It also gave me another knockoff user. It gave me a phaser with Whirlwind. And it gave me a pretty strong mon that surprisingly it has two abilities that boost their steel stab, whichever I decide to bring. Heavy metal boosts heavy slam, and Cheetor Force boosts Ironhead. So it is strong either way. And this mon is deceptively bulky. because of the 122 HP. Even though it has low defenses at 69 ish, it is deceptively bulky. So I feel like it's a great addition to my team. And it forms, in my opinion, a great synergistic relationship with both of my ground types, both Donphan and Gastrodon. The next pick that I decided to do was Braviary, mainly because I needed a ground resist. Because at the moment, my only ground resist was, quote unquote, was low kicks. I don't consider low kicks a ground resist because it is, even though it does resist ground, because it is a bug type, it doesn't have the defenses to actually take on ground moves. So to ease off Donphan's uh, role on standing up ground move, I decided to draft Braviary as one of the mons that, in this case, is immune to ground. It also gives me a mon that has U-turn, which forms a great bolt-on core between Loki itself and Galvantula. It gives me a mon with defog, removing the uh, pressure for Donphan to come almost every week as a rapid spinner. I can bring defog on Braviary. It also functions as a great Scarfer, even though it has only 80 speed. That speed with the low power level, it actually is kind of perfect to handle most of the mons available. It also can be extremely bulky. Um, One of the sets that it used to run back in the day was the bulk up roost set or the sub bulk up set, and it can still do those kinds of sets now with either two great abilities, either sheer force or defiant. But yeah, that's Braviary. The next one that I decided to pick was an underrated one, in my opinion. I felt like this mon is, for being a not fully evolved Pokemon, is actually a very tanky one with Eviolite. And I decided to draft Quaxwell. Even though this mon is not fully evolved, it is actually this deceptively bulky with Eviolite. It also gives me a flip turn mon that um, it also provides to the Bolton core I have going on my team. It even though this mon, when I bring it, it will have the same form moves most of the time. It does what I need well. It also removes the pressure again from Donphan from being the only rapid spinner if I want to bring webs, because Braviary with defog it also removes my webs. And it can be a Moxie Sweeper. So I could maybe run like a physical offensive Quaxwell as a Moxie Sweeper and just claim kills. At this moment of the draft, I was realizing that I needed something important on my team, which was a grounded poison. And at the moment, I only had 4 points left. So I was looking in the low tiers to pick up a grounded poison and saw this mon, and I was like, this is the perfect grounded poison for this team. And so I decided with Swallow. Swallow gives me toxic spikes, is decently bulky, 100 HP, 83 both defenses. It gives me a toxic spike, it gives me a knockoff user. It could be offensive with sword dance. It has a decent but very useful coverage move like Ice Beam, Body Press, Earthquake, Knockoff. I believe it gets Thunder, Thunderbolt, the Elemental Punches. So it actually has some decent coverage moves. It is also a mon that um, provides me with. I feel like it will be the glue to my defensive core between Donphan, Gastrodon, Copraya, Quaxwell, and Swallow. I feel like it brings the defensive core together, providing that grounded poison type to absorb toxic spikes, which looking at my team, it's very weak. And for the last pick, we only had 1 point. Originally, here I wanted Duocean, but unfortunately, it was picked right before my pick. So I went with my second choice, which was Electric, the pre-evolution of Electros. And this is also my second Terra having um, Terra Electric, Terra Steel, and Terra Water. This one, usually what it does is coil sets. It usually clicks coil and just setups like that. It also has ball switch and U-turn, so it provides more on my ball turn core. I may see some matchups where it can actually do work, but um, we'll see if it does because it's not the strongest mon, and it's not the bulkiest mon, but it's a mon. So yeah, that's the final look of your Roman Polions in the ICP. Um, our first matchup is against CJ, coach of the Phoenix Incinerators, if I'm not mistaken, which um, at the time of recording this video has already been played, and you will see it next week, the battle next Sunday. So be sure to check it out. Anyway, peace out.